Hi guys, it's Jason here with the ROADS.sg team, and we have a beautiful 2024 Africa Twin here to review today. As usual and as always, we will start off with the specifications of the bike. No, I'm kidding. We'll never do specifications of the bike here at ROADS.sg. Our job is to test the bike for its rideability and its safety. We don't do specifications. Go check out the manual if you need to know the specs of the bike. What's more important is we want to know how rideable is this bike in Singapore conditions. As you can see, this bike is set up with road tyres, which means that it's perfectly suited for the city riding that we do here in Singapore. I am not testing it off-road. This is a showroom bike. I want to return it in showroom condition. So we are not going off-road with this, but we'll test it for day-to-day scenarios that we might face while riding here in Singapore. Let's go! So the first test my team has designed for me is to get this big bike into a U-turn. So let's see how it does in terms of a U-turn. Alright, for the first test, we're going to do a simple U-turn. Since it's the first one I'm doing, I'm going to go way out here to this line and try to get a turn in nicely and calmly. Oops, I went right out of that line. That's a little bit wide. Let's try again. Before we get better, as I go a few rounds with this, picking up a little bit more speed. Yep, feels better. The conclusion is that you still need approximately the width of one entire lane to do a decent U-turn. Of course, there's a little bit of a rider skill issue here, and I've not gotten very used to the bike so far yet, but considering that I just picked up the bike and started riding it, I think it's pretty decent on the U-turns. Okay, next up we have the classic Slum. Let's see how this bike goes in terms of small cones. Yep. It's really nice and flexible in the cones. I love it. This bike doesn't handle too heavily. Of course, I'm not going too fast right now. I'll try and go a little bit faster in the next round. Okay, on this last round, let's try a classic off-roading technique of standing up. You can see how that helps in terms of counter steering. And next up, we have something that we at ROADS.sg do not recommend at all, but we know you're going to do it anyway, and that is lane splitting. So what we're going to do now is we're going to test this big, huge adventure bike and see how it feels going into a small gap like that, and at what distance is it going to be too much or too little for us to go through. It's currently set at 1.5 meters. Let's try, and then we will slowly close the gap till we feel that it's way too close for comfort. Let's go! Alright, for this first section of the lane split, it's nice and wide. There's 1.5 meters in between. It should be a nice cruise through, bars, plenty of space. Alright, lane splitting is something that riders go through a lot here in Singapore. Generally speaking, when it's like that, about 1.5 meters apart, it tends to be a very easy ride through, no problems at all. Including the mirror, which comes out about here, you're looking at just under a meter, right? And what we have done is we set the cones exactly a meter apart, so you can feel how tight it actually is when you are coming in on two vehicles that are just about the width of your handlebar and do not have much space beyond that. Okay, let's try passing through at 1 meter apart. It's a lot tighter now. I think my bars would have a bit of a problem. Let's try that again. So one of the things we've got to be conscious of is, of course, whether or not you're going to hit the bars on the mirrors when you're passing through. This would be your greatest concern when passing between two cars usually. And that's where estimation of whether your bar length will clear. Now, of course, if you have a bunch of touring boxes behind you, it changes the scenario completely, but this allows you to go through pretty straight without any focus on whether or not the boxes are going to keep at the back. I think overall, the bike, although it's big, it handles really agilely and it comes through very nicely. As long as you can keep yourself in a straight line, it's going to work out just fine. And the overall verdict is that this is a great bike to ride in Singapore. There's enough power, it's a 1100cc, and you feel like you're controlling with these big bars. You can go through various obstacles and things rather easily, no problem at all. Great consideration for a bike for riding in Singapore.